Hello, everybody. This is Tito Bort, CEO at Alti Sales, with another cold calling training here. So today we have a really cool and special case. I have Kevin Peters from Farmlogs. How are you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing great, Tito. How you doing?
Doing awesome, man. I'm really excited. So for the audience, a little bit of context. We're talking briefly with Kevin about his background and what he's done. And he comes from an kind of like science/engineering background in college, and kind of new to sales. And he's gonna share a little bit with us, kind of like how this is working. So he's not a typical SDR. Um, he's working a different capacity. So Kevin, help the audience understand what you're doing without revealing what your product is, and then we'll talk about who you're calling, and then you give me a call.
Yeah, absolutely. So my role is in partner recruitment. So it's kind of a traditional channel sales model. So my job is to both source, find, contact, and kind of move the potential channel partner through the entire sales cycle. Up until just recently, basically, going from inception to close to the entire cycle. Currently, or just recently changed so that a little bit more of the traditional SDR to AE handoff type of thing, where I'm bringing my manager in on the call at an earlier stage. But yeah, so basically, I'm finding people. I'm trying to pitch our product to people in a way that makes them want to sell it.
Cool, that's awesome. And you're the only person working partnerships, or do you have more people on your team doing the same?
Yeah, so there are two other people. So I'm one of
Okay.
three that are in my specific role, and then we have one manager that's above us.
Cool, sounds great. Let's just get started with trying out some of the calls. So what I'm gonna do is I first want to learn, who are you calling? What type of company? What type of person?
Yeah, so we kind of have a couple of different companies that we target. I think that the easiest one, the most simplistic one for our purposes would probably just to be that you are like the vice president, or yeah, the vice president of sales for a small regional seed company. So, I mean, there's a couple larger seed companies like Monsanto or Pioneer. We usually focus on the more smaller kind of regional companies. So I think the best or the easiest for our purposes here would probably be to role play that you were the vice president of sales at a regional seed company.
Okay, wow. That sounds, of course, very outside of my knowledge. So I assume I need to know a little bit more about what are my priorities as a VP of sales for a seed company. How am I going about selling this? It's not, you're not selling to tech, so I assume they're not cold calling the farms and being like, "Yo, can I show you a demo of my seeds?" Uh, they
Right.
must be doing something
Right.
else. What is their day? What's my day? What's a day in the life of a VP of sales for a seed company?
Yeah. So I think that, I mean, I can't speak too much to it, but I think that a lot of them, I mean, it's identifying new markets, figuring out what's working and what's not working with their current products. Seed companies, they're always trying to evolve and introduce new traits that are going to better perform in the field. So the way that most seed companies sell is through dealers themselves. And in agriculture, it's a very relationship based market. So these guys, most of the people that are selling seed are either farmers themselves. They've grown up in the community. They know a lot of farmers. So those are kind of
Right.
like the frontline guys who are out there actually selling it. The vice president is more concerned with, okay, well, how do we expand our seed offering? How do we target more, or grow our area, and really just ultimately bring on more customers.
Right. Okay. I have a vague understanding of what I'm doing, but it's really hard. I don't want to get too deep into the role without asking you too many questions about the product. This might be a difficult cold calling training because I don't know how good of a prospect I can be. But if the first call is bad, we'll do a second one. I'll just even though I'll know more about your product by the end of the first call, we'll try it again. So I think we should just go ahead and get started. One thing that I always say is, when you're cold calling your prospects, you don't have them on camera with you. So I want to,
Right.
move away or turn around or get out of the camera so that you can't see me. So let's do that. Let me move out of here. And phone is ringing. Ring ring. Hello, this is Tom.
Hi, Tom. My name is Kevin, and I'm calling over from Farmlogs. The reason I was giving you a call, we're looking to grow our dealer network. I came across your guys' website and thought that Farmlogs could be a natural fit into your current product offering. So I was just curious, are you guys open to additional sources of revenue or looking to acquire new customers?
No, we're not looking into that. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, so you guys aren't trying to grow your business at all or just acquire new customers or even strengthening relationships with current customers?
Nope.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then Tom, I'm sure that there's not much we can help out with. If you guys are ever interested in being able to offer a digital tool that's going to help you both grow your current customer base and strengthen relationships with existing customers while adding additional revenue, it's certainly something that we'd love to have a conversation about.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thanks, Tom. You have a good day.
Cool, bye. I am back. How many of your clients actually do that? A few?
To be honest,
no, none of them. I'm the worst one. What is?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. How many people are you calling a day? Are you talking to a lot of VPs of sales for these companies?
So it's not really a high volume amount of calls. It's more, I think here. So when we used to go, things have kind of changed in who we're selling to. Within the last week and a half. So we were going after more kind of high volume. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so we were going after more high volume, smaller companies with specifically, and I know that this is probably just not, your world, but with crop consultants. So people who are not farming themselves, but who are, just consulting for farmers with agronomic advice and making recommendations, things like that. We've recently started to focus more on larger accounts and going after fewer larger deals. And so to be honest, I think that our biggest challenge, once we make that contact and get people on the phone, for the most part, guys are pretty open to at least hearing, what we have to say and seeing where we might be able to help out. It's kind of more the challenge, especially with agriculture, is that people are very busy. So it's really making that first connection, finding the time, getting them on the phone, and making that initial time investment. That's kind of the bigger challenge, at least so far for us.
So if you talk to 100 people, and of course I know you're not talking to 100 people per day or even per week, but I want to get this statistic, right? If you talk to 100, how many meetings do you get? Or what's the percentage? Do you get 1 out of 5, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 30, or 1 out of 2, or what? Where are you?
Yeah. So out of people that we actually make first contact, actually talk to, I would say that we can schedule or at least get them to agree to want to do another meeting probably 50, 60% of the time, maybe a little bit more.
Wow. That is very high. Okay, that's cool. What are their biggest objections? Somebody picks up the phone, you say, "Hey, this is Kevin Peters with Farmlogs. I'm on your website. I saw this. Want to talk to you about growing sales." Whatever. What do they usually do? How quickly do you get cut off, or when do they hang up the phone? Give me context.
Yeah, so I would say that our biggest objection is on just time. So when we're talking with people and we get to a point where it's okay, does this seem like something that would be interesting for you, or does this seem like something that would benefit your business or your customers is really who we're looking to work with. It's more so that they agree that they could see that it would be beneficial, but user adoption is a big problem. A lot of people that we talk to, because it's a channel program, so we're talking to people trying to convince them to sell our stuff to their customers. So a lot of them think that their customers won't want to take the time to input the data into the program. And they also just think that the kind of, I guess, integration piece to it and getting all of their employees trained on it and using it would be a big time investment as well.
Okay, but you're talking to me about let's maybe do this, and you know, the audience gonna see this. I'm not gonna edit the clip necessarily, but I'm gonna point them to the right times within the clip, because I don't necessarily think everything within this conversation is gonna be relevant for everybody. Here's what I want to do. Call me again, and let's try it again. I want to hear how that first conversation goes. I won't be a hard ass this time like I was on the first one. I'll probably try to follow through what you're saying and do that. So, ring, ring, ring. Hi, this is John.
Hi, John. My name is Kevin. I'm calling over from Farmlogs. The reason for the call, we're looking to expand our dealer network. I came across your guys' website and thought that Farmlogs could be kind of a natural fit into your current product offering. So I was just curious, are you guys open to additional sources of revenue or increasing your customer base?
Yeah, sure.
Great. Well, I guess for starters, how familiar are you with Farmlogs? Have you heard of our company?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So Farmlogs is an independent farm management platform. And currently we're working with about 78 million acres across 190,000 users. So really our goal is, how can we help growers be more profitable by using data? So, we're not owned or associated with any seed or chemical or fertilizer companies. We're an independent company. Really our only motivation is just how can we help farmers be more profitable? So really, the goal of my call here today, I know it kind of caught you out of the blue, was just to see, if you guys would be open to being able to offer a digital tool for your farmers. And really would love to schedule some time where I can actually show you, what our product looks like, why it would be beneficial for your growers, so you can determine, whether or not it would be something that you would like to be able to offer for them.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Let's do that.
Great. So, usually the demo takes about 20, 30 minutes. Do you have some time maybe next week that would work well for you to see a demo of the program?
Okay, cool. Sure, let's schedule it. Help me here. In that call,
yeah,
you only book 50% of people, which to me is gigantic. I would have expected with a call like that, when you're selling tech to other salespeople, I would expect maybe a 5% conversion rate. So you're of course calling a market that's untapped in this world where the farmers, their channel, things like that. I think there is, like, yeah, you might be booking 50% of them, which is amazing. When you don't book him, what are they saying? I don't have time to look at this, or you said time is one of the objections. What are the others?
Yeah, so others would be that they kind of already have a preconceived notion of what we do. We have a free version of our app, which, like I mentioned in that role play there, we have a lot of people who use us. So, there's a pretty, at least in the agricultural world, we're a somewhat familiar name, but they use us very minimally for only kind of surface level things. So guys kind of like, oh no, I already know what you guys do, and we're not interested in rainfall. Like, they think that we just report on rainfall. Or another big one is that they're already working with like a competitor. And even though if you actually look at us compared to a lot of other companies, we're not really that similar. As soon as guys hear agriculture and technology, they're like, oh, you're just like so-and-so. And we're already working with them, so not interested.
Okay,
so those would probably be the two biggest reasons.
Okay, that's cool. That's good to understand. So they have a preconceived notion that you're only rainfall, and you actually do much more. You help them look at all sorts of data, I assume.
Yep.
Okay, so they don't have time, and there's a wrong assumption that you don't do enough. Anything else that you hear as the biggest objection?
Um,
What gives you credibility? Like if people who love Farmlogs, why do they love it?
I think our two biggest kind of differentiators and why people like working with us is our ease of use is key. I mean, I'm sure as you can imagine, our target market and with farmers, they're not always the most technologically savvy people, and they don't always like to adapt to new technology, especially when it comes to just a computer. So being very easy to use, guys love that. Also, the fact that we are independent. A lot of other similar companies kind of in the space are either owned by a large chemical company or a large seed company. And so guys kind of see it as,
They're biased, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
So when they,
I asked the wrong question. Here's what I'm trying to get to. I'll give you an example because I don't know how to ask this question in a smart way. If I'm talking to somebody who doesn't, who's not a love of soccer, right? I love soccer, and I tell them who Cristiano Ronaldo is, they immediately know who that is, and they have a preconceived notion
yeah.
of who that is. But if I say, hey, what do you think of Luka Modric, right? They're like, I've never heard of that name, right? I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
he is a three-time Champions League champion. He is the captain of the Croatian team. He is XYZ. Those are things that are giving Luka Modric credibility, right? He scored the most incredible goal this past weekend. What I'm
Okay.
trying to figure out is what are things that bring you credibility? Are there specific associations that people really admire that have endorsed you? Are there magazines? Are there some big name clients that if you say you work with them, could attract other people? How do you
hmm
build trust? Is my question.
Our potential channel partner.
Right, to somebody who's never heard of you, or to somebody who's like, oh yeah, Farmlogs, you guys are X, or right? I'm like, hey, what do you think about Luka Modric? Oh yeah, he sucks because he plays for Real Madrid. Okay, wait a second. So
hmm
he's at three, blah 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 blah. That shows he's great. So I can change your
hmm
preconceived notions with actual data. So if I'm like, oh, you guys suck because your rainfall, I can say, wait, like before you say that, we actually do XYZ with these other companies that everybody really admires in your area, or we have three
hmm
farmers in around you that are using us, or whatever. Like, help me
Yeah.
understand. Do you work with a few huge clients that give you a big name, or is it just the number of clients, or you mentioned the number of acres?
Yeah. Yeah. So that definitely is where our credibility comes in, is the fact that 78 million acres is a lot of ground. It's a large number of customers. I mean, having 190,000, I mean, basically one third, maybe a little bit less than one third of every farmer in the United States uses us for one thing or another. So just our adoption rate with farmers is our
Okay.
credibility. And certainly we do sometimes as a tactic, if we're calling like a specific location, we'll say, hey, we have 500 growers within 25 miles of your location that are asking specifically to be connected with their local co-op. So I would love to just have like a conversation about ways we can work together, blah, 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 that sort of thing. So
Right.
basically, it's just our adoption rate and the number of people that we have using us is our biggest credibility.
Right. Now here's like a little bit of the problem with the numbers you're throwing out there, right? 78 million acres. They're like, yeah, I know 78 million acres are being used for you. You do rainfall, like go away, right? Preconceived notion.
Mhm.
So tell me, what have you done for one client that is ridiculously amazing? Like they started using all our product, like we do this 72 things, right? For your 78 million acres, maybe 50 million use you for one tiny thing, and then 28 million use you for a lot of things. Give me results. Who's using Farmlogs, and how has that changed their life?
Mhm. Yeah, so we have helped clients save on average. Well, I wouldn't say on average, but specific use cases where we've seen a lot of success. One of our growers, satellite imagery is one of the things that we offer, and farmers use that to be able to monitor their crop. So one farmer was able to catch an issue that he was occurring like year over year that was costing him $16,000 a year by using our satellite imagery.
Okay.
We've
What was
also,
the issue? Get really specific. Give me the case study. And
yeah,
short
so
short and
he
brief,
had,
like he analyzed the soil and found that there was too much whatever, like chlorum, like whatever.
right. Yeah, so he actually had a clogged nozzle, or it wasn't clogged, but he had an application error. So he was putting down an uneven amount of fertilizer on his field. And so he was able to see in the satellite imagery where the unevenness was, and based on what the difference between the production of one area where it was the correct amount versus the areas where it was putting on the incorrect amount, what that was costing him was 16 grand a year.
Okay. What are some other use cases? So it seems like you're. We can get really open about what the product does now because I'm gonna turn around and cold call you, right? So I'm just trying to learn as much as possible. So you do satellite imaging. You're gonna go analyze the ground, and you can help them. Whoops. You're gonna help them kind of like figure out. Ooh, I feel. I hear echo now.
Hmm.
Not sure if that's your
You
phone
still
or
hear
something
it?
else. Yeah, I hear it still. I don't. Is it me maybe?
I'm not sure. I don't know what would have changed. I could try maybe calling in from just my cell phone and muting or maybe if I
I think we're good now.
disconnect. Okay.
No, actually, no. I hear echo again.
Let me just try. Maybe if I hang up because I called in through the phone and we just tried talking through the actual
Yeah, that works.
Zoom.
You will need to connect to audio via Zoom or dial back in. You're not connected to audio. And yeah, you're connected to audio now, but you're muted. I will unmute you. Hello there.
Yep.
Oh, I can hear you now. Okay, cool. So, damn, I'll have to edit a bunch of this video. That's fine. So is it only satellite imagery? What else does Farmlogs do?
Yeah, so we're basically a full farm management software. So our real focus is kind of two-part. We want to be able to help growers better track their cost of production.
Stop there. I want you to be like so ridiculously specific, like as specific as possible. Like I know you're talking high level because this is good for like your clients in many cases because you're like, I want to help you grow revenue. I want to make you a better company. This is all great, but anybody can say that. I want you to say, I'm gonna analyze the Earth via satellite imagery. I'm gonna help you find X. I'm gonna go to your house and I'm gonna clean your shoe. I'm gonna slap you in the face. I'm gonna get you to produce more. I'm gonna go I'm gonna bring a truck. Like, what are the actions and concrete outcomes? Like outcomes in terms of like what changes am I gonna make in my business? What data am I gonna see? Of course, the end goal is to increase revenue. I don't know if I don't know how to explain this. I don't know. Yeah.
No, I think I know what you're
Is
saying.
that better?
I think to kind of understand how we help, you have to kind of understand from like a farmer's perspective. So
Yeah.
they don't know so if you, a bushel, that's the unit of measurement that they sell their grain in. So a lot of farmers don't understand. If you were to ask them, how much money does it cost you to produce one unit? They couldn't tell you.
Right. Yeah.
So if you think about that, it's like, okay, well, how do you sell your product if you have no idea what it costs you to produce it?
Right.
Like, how do you know if you made money or not? How do you know if what corn is trading at? Because corn is traded like any commodity. It's regulated. They don't get to just choose how much to sell it for.
What
How
do
do
they
you?
care about?
So traditionally and historically, farmers have always seen success as, if I can produce more, then I'm going to be successful. They
Good.
don't look at it as, as far as diminishing returns of production and, okay, well, just more is not always better. If you're losing money, like honestly, some guys lose money because they produce too much. And so it costs them $4 to raise a bushel, but they only can sell it for $3.50.
Right.
Because to them, they've been told their entire life that as long as you're producing more, like the more that you produce, the more successful you're going to be. But I mean, especially commodity prices right now are very low because it's just basic supply and demand. We are very good at growing crops and we have too much. And so
Right.
the price is way down. And so guys we show them what is your cost of production, what is it actually producing, what is it actually costing me to raise a bushel of crop, so that then they can make, on the flip side of that, make smarter marketing decisions of, based on what the price of grain is, when do I need to sell my crop so that I will be able to break even and hit my target profit goal. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. What's very difficult here for me is that what you're telling me is they care about this one thing and they're wrong, which I agree with you that they're wrong, but it seems like you want to convince them that they're wrong and that they should instead do what you say, which then you wouldn't necessarily be selling software or farm logs. You're like, you're going to reshape their business. And in a cold call, it's impossible to do that. What you can do is you can convince them to take a meeting by aligning yourself to what they care about.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about a company that you've increased, and I don't care about the details. Company name and how much they've increased production and how they did, like what did they had to change to increase production. Like Johnny increased production by 37% by analyzing the soil and distributing. Yeah, I'll use that example. What was the company that you mentioned before? It was unevenly distributed.
It wasn't a company, it was just an individual farmer.
A farmer. Okay. Uh, okay. Uh, what was the problem? The fertilizer was
Yeah, they were
unevenly.
using uneven application. So their
Yeah.
machine was showing them that they were applicating one way, but it wasn't. And so they thought everything was okay, but then when they were actually looking at the crop health, the vegetative index of that field via satellite imagery, they were able to see, well, this area of the field is producing much less. Why is that? Be able to track it back to the fact that they were putting down uneven amounts of fertilizer, and that was costing them, 16 grand a year.
Okay, I think I understand enough about your product. I'm gonna focus on that one thing of satellite imagery rather than the rest. And I understand enough about your persona. Like before talking to you today, I have no idea how farmers work. I have no idea about how they're thinking. I had no idea that they really don't care about their costs. It makes sense that they're very unsophisticated in their data. They're not running, business intelligence tools on top of Salesforce to figure out what's their crop yield according to like the type of fertilizer they use. And that's exactly the problem. That's why they're broke, because some company, Monsanto, is doing that, and then Monsanto is killing them or whatever, right? Or like somebody's doing that and it's killing them. So when I call a farmer, I think I know much better what I can do. So I think I can give you a better cold call and make this more productive. So I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna not face you, but give you a call. I'm gonna try to pitch you.
So are you calling me as if I were a farmer?
You're a farmer on Farmlogs. You've never heard of me, or you've heard of me and you think I suck because I only do whatever you think I do, which
Okay.
you might not know. So cool. So ring ring.
Well, it's Kevin.
Hey, Kevin, this is Mike. I'm calling you from Farmlogs, and I was just hoping to speak with you briefly. Do you have 2 minutes?
Sure, I've got some time here.
Thanks, Kevin. I'll keep it brief. Hey, I was just curious. Have you heard of Farmlogs before?
No, I've never heard of you guys.
Okay. Hey, no problem. I'll keep it super brief here. The reason my call is that we are a technology company that works with a lot of farmers. About 78 million acres is the amount of land that we're covering with our technology. And the reason on my call today is we are setting up some online webinars on your computers just to check out how this works. And we're just helping farmers produce more by understanding some basic things that we can measure on the field. How are you currently, thinking about producing more? Are you analyzing your crops, or trying to figure out how to increase your production?
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking to produce more. I mean, I guess, how are you guys kind of be able to help me grow more corn?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways. I'll give you a quick example, and that's exactly why I want you to look at this kind of like on your screen on your computer. It's a short 15-20 minute meeting, but we were talking to a farmer a couple of months ago. His name is John Stewart. He's actually based in Iowa, in this specific town, and he was putting fertilizer on his crops, and he was pretty sure it was all accurate and stable. And what we found is we did some satellite imagery of his crops and figure out that the actual amount of fertilizer was very uneven across the field. And it was because he had a clog within his machine. So he was using this machine to put the fertilizer. It was clogged on one side, and therefore it was uneven, and the crops weren't producing as much. So it's little things like that. We do a lot of them, and we'd love to show you how this works. Do you have time maybe on Tuesday at 10 a.m. to take a look?
Uh, sure, yeah, and I'll try to plan it out. It's tough to keep a schedule here. We just got to run when the weather permits. But yeah, if I'm around in my office, I'll take a look.
Oh yeah. Hey, it seems like you're free now. I assume you're in the office. You picked up the phone. Do you have 20 minutes now? I can show it to you now.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to see what you guys have.
Yeah, sure. Let me go ahead and send you a link here so we can hop on a meeting. I'm gonna share my screen with you and kind of show you some of the technology. Blah blah blah. Boom. I booked and this is perfect because you're head of partnership, right? You're doing the demo, and then
Mm-hmm.
this is just like going from cold call to meeting performed.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Do you want me to try that again and maybe be a different type of prospect, somebody who has learned of or has some preconceived notions of farm logs, and I can try that? Or you want to analyze this call? You guide me. What do you think is more useful for you?
Um, yeah, I mean, so I guess to give you kind of some context, so the way that we sold in the past when we were selling, when we used to sell direct to farmer, we just started the channel program back in like May. And so we have a lot of people who use our free app. And so we would call those people who are using the free app, and it's just like kind of a freemium model where we call them. If they're a good fit, they end up paying for the premium tools. So when we're talking directly to farmer, the good thing is that, they're kind of, I wouldn't say they're warm calls, but I mean, they know they're at least
It's
using our
inbound.
product. Yeah.
It's different.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily think it's inbound. I mean, we're still reaching out to them, but they at least already are using our product, right? And so we don't have to at least, I mean, and that's kind of where like that preconceived notion comes from a lot, is because they're using us for one thing, and they're unaware of the other things that we're doing.
Right.
So yeah, so who I'm calling now are, people who, like I said, that we're looking to basically that.
They never heard of you.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So how was my call? Let's analyze that then. So it seems like we don't need to do another call. What do you think of my call versus your call? Anything that you think would be useful to implement?
Yeah. One thing that just stuck out when you asked like is now a good time. I mean, this is the only selling I've ever done, and that was like day one. Like, don't ask people, is now a good time, because it never is. Like, if you're talking to a farmer, they will never say, yeah, sure, I've got some time now. They're always busy. And I mean, especially for some person that they don't know on the phone, they'll always just say, nope, now's not a good time. And then it's like, oh shit, well, now what do I do, right?
Why didn't you say it's not a good time when I asked? I didn't ask. Well, I didn't ask that phrase specifically, but do you recall why you didn't say this is not a good time?
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to see kind of where the call went and keep it going a little bit longer and kind of
Let's
see.
do it again. Be a hard ass on me. Be the hardest prospect you can think of, right?
Okay.
If you make it easy, we're not going to learn anything. I'm trying to teach you the hard scenarios. So I'm going to call you again. Ring, ring.
Hello, this is Kevin.
Hey, Kevin, this is John. I'm calling you from Farmlogs. I was hoping to speak with you briefly. Do you have 2 minutes?
No, I'm too busy right now, John.
Oh, are you on the field at the moment?
Yep. Yeah, we're running the combine. We're harvesting right now, so we're running from dawn to dusk.
Amazing. I don't want to bug you. I want to call you back later. What time are you going to be back in the office, or should I try you tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be tough with harvest. We're going to be busy the next month or so, weather permitting. We wake up at 6 a.m. Sometimes we're running until past 10 p.m. So, there's not really much good time this time of year.
Completely understand, man. I'll wait for the rain and I'll call you then.
All right, that'll work, John.
Thanks. Cool. And by the way, if that is actually the case, we can talk after the call. I know technology can tell you the weather everywhere you're calling, and it can call only places where it's raining. So it will guarantee that people are not on the field. So let's try it again. Feel free to be another hard ass. Ring ring.
Hey, this is John.
Hey John, this is Mike calling from Farmlogs. I was hoping to speak with you briefly. Do you have a couple of minutes for me?
Yeah. I mean, what do you want?
Yeah, hey, I appreciate it. I promise I'll take just 57 seconds. The reason my call is that we're working with a lot of farmers, helping them produce more. And we're using really cool technology to allow them to do that. I was just wondering, what are your priorities for this year? Are you trying to increase your production? Are you trying to just increase the amount of money you make? How are you thinking about your crops?
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking to increase production. I mean, really just trying to break even with where prices are right now. We're just trying to keep above water.
Man, I completely understand. I'm talking to farmers all day and consultants that work with farmers, and I'm hearing this all the time. Here is the beauty of Farmlogs. We just helped John Stewart down the road from you. He's on XYZ Road, and we've analyzed his crops through satellite imagery and found out that for some strange reason, the fertilizer on the field was not evenly distributed. It was it was a strange pattern. So we started investigating into what was happening and found out that his fertilizer machine had a clog, and that was not allowing him to produce as much, and therefore losing like $16,000 a year because of that. Like, it's ridiculous stuff like that. So the reason my call today, I know you said you have no time, so I'll get straight to the point. We're showing how this works over the next couple of days. I know you're in the office today. If you have 20 minutes now, happy to show it to you now. If it's not a good time, we can look at next week. What do you think is best for you?
Um, yeah, I mean, like I said, we're just gonna be busy running with harvest and over the next month or so. And I've got an agronomist that I use that scouts all my fields. So I don't know if I would. He does that job. He's out there looking at my field. So I don't know if I would necessarily need imagery.
No, I agree, man. And we love working with people who are on the field actually looking at it because, technology does part of the job and then the human eye can do part of the job. But it's one thing to look at it from the field when you're there, and it's another thing to look at it from the sky, right? We have satellites, like really cool technology. And because we work with 78 million acres of farms, it's really inexpensive. We can analyze the color of the soil and figure out the chemical composition of it. As you can imagine, this gets super technical and beautiful, and it can help you produce 20% more. Um, One thing you did mention is you're trying to increase production and make more money. If I can show you a way that you can make 20% more money this year and increase your production by maybe 40%, would that be worth 20 minutes of your time? Like, I would love to show this to you. I think you're gonna love what you're gonna see next Tuesday at 10 a.m. I'll only call you if it's raining.
Yeah, I mean, if it's raining, I mean, being able to do 20% more, that'd be great.
Cool. I'll set up some time. I'll send you a calendar invite so you have my info, and then we'll set it up. Okay. Cool. I'm back. How was that? What'd you think of that call? What are some things that maybe I did that you don't hear as often, or that you haven't thought of that were good, and what were some things that maybe you don't think might work, or I don't know. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, it's it's tough. I mean, just farmers are just such a unique organization, or not organization, but market to sell to. So when like saying things like, you know, we can help. I love the fact that like you are very specific with like, this is exactly how we can use it, or how it can benefit you, and this is how we benefited other people. Me personally, I don't think I do that enough. Partially, I mean, I just think that like with this program is very new that we're doing now, so we don't have a ton of like really specific use cases, which I think that we'll get. You know, there's a couple good prospects that we're working with currently that I think will lead to really good use cases. But I like that part of it, you know, giving those specific examples. Um, the trust aspect, I think, is one thing that like just saying, you know, we're going to be able to help you increase yields or increase production by 20%. At least in my experience, you know, I've heard a lot of people there's like, all right, they just don't believe you. Believe that you can do that. Like, you know, how are you going to do that? How do you know more about my fields than I know about them, right? Like,
Right.
I'm out there all day. I've been working these fields for 40 years, that sort of thing.
Right. So let me kind of like help you understand it to a certain extent what's going through my head as I have learned about your company and your product and your market and try to set up a cold call where I'm booking a prospect.
Mm-hmm.
First thing, you were right. I um I I agree that it's a really bad practice to ask, did I catch you at a good time? Or hey, is this a good time to talk? It's never a good time to talk with somebody who's not my friend, who I don't know, who doesn't do business with me.
Mm-hmm.
Random person calling me? No, it's not a good time to talk. I also don't know how much time you want. Do you want half an hour? You want 10 minutes? You want 6 hours of my time? Like, what are we going to talk about? Like, it's so strange. Like, it's a good time to talk, terrible. If you tell me, is it a bad time to talk? I'll say yes. It's a terrible time
Mm-hmm.
to talk. Here's how I would respond positively. Hey, John, it's Mike. I'm calling from Farmlogs. Do you have 2 minutes to speak? Right? Because now I have expectations. This is going to take 2 minutes. They presented themselves properly, and then they're with a company with the name Farm, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that is not working enough, here's what I would add. Hey, John, this is Mike calling from Farmlogs. We're working with John Stewart down the road there in whatever, Alabama, on XYZ company down there, also in your zip code. And I was just hoping to speak with you for a few minutes. Do you have 2 minutes for me now?
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't work, I don't know what else will, because what you're giving the prospect is a very clear and concrete expectation of how long the call is going to take, and you're providing them with social proof, right? The reason why I use Nike shoes or Adidas shoes or, you know, Under Armour gear is because I know Kobe Bryant and Curry, Seth Curry, and all these famous people use it. So if I know my friends are using it, I like it. I see a lot of Mac computers, so I buy more Mac. I see people using the iPhone. I buy people just to do what other people do.
Mm-hmm.
To give you a little bit of context about my experience, you might not know this about me. I've been doing sales development for 5 years. Started my career at a company called ShareFile. We would call accountants, lawyers, engineers, and it's different. Calling an engineer is different from calling an accountant. However, here's one of the interesting facts why we strongly believed that was the case as we looked across markets. Engineers feel like their work is very unique. I'm an engineer. I don't care if you talk to other engineers. My work is unique. I'm building this thing. While accountants were actually the easiest to book for entry-level sales development reps. And the reason for that is everybody's doing taxes, everybody's doing bookkeeping, everybody's doing the same thing, everybody's running into the same challenges, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where farmers would place in between. For me, it seems like farmers must be closer to accountants than their engineers, but they might feel like their field is very unique. So one thing that they might relate to, a farmer from Alabama will not relate to a farmer in California, but a farmer in Alabama will relate to a farmer in Alabama down the road. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why in the introduction I'm saying, hey, John, I'm working with this other farmer down the road from you, a couple blocks away, a mile away, right? Like you said, 78 farmers within 25 miles. Do you have 2 minutes to speak? That's the
Yeah.
first part. That's what I call the hook. It's the first sentence of your call. You should get about a 90 to 95 conversion rate on that, as long as they're not like stupidly busy, like they're on the field, right? After that, what I want to do is first thank them for the time. I'm asking for 2 minutes. They're saying yes. And one thing you got to be very conscious of when you're calling farmers is you got to speak their language, right? So if they're not the type of people who are super formal in the language, they don't pick up the phone like, "Hello, my name is Mike Johnson. You've called, XYZ Farm. How may I help you?" Right?
Right.
That is not the farmer's like, "Yo, brother, what's up?" or whatever, right? It might be like you're calling Texas, right?
Right.
Or I don't know. Like I'm not from the United States. I don't know if like there's a lot of differences, but what I understand is a psychographic profile of the person, right? So the farmer is an informal. He's an entrepreneur. He's up and coming. He does business with people he likes and he's friendly with. He wants to go grab a beer and do business with you. He doesn't want to look at a proposal, understand your metrics, look at a spreadsheet, and decide a person, right? So
Right.
you don't want to be like, "Hello, Mr. Johnson. You're talking to Mike Stewart from Farmlogs. You have 2 minutes." That will work way less than being like, "Hey, John, this is Mike. I'm calling you from Farmlogs. You have 2 minutes to speak."
Right.
Right? You want to kind of like sit down, like kind of like laid back on your chair, be like, "Yo, hey, what's up, Mike? It's John from Farmlogs. You have a few minutes, man?" Right? Feel free feel free to throw things like, "Hey, man, what's going? Hey, man, the reason I called today is I'm with Farmlogs. We're just working with John Stewart down the road with you. Um, Dude, we've been able to increase, like we're working together, and since we started working with together, he's been able to increase his crop production by like 18%, my friend. Like it's ridiculous. And the way we've done that is, like my company has this like really awesome tech that's like satellite technology, and like it kind of analyzes your fields. It's kind of cool to see it. I mean, I love to show it to you next week, but in short, like we can figure out sometimes if like the soil's like not evenly with fertilizer, or we can figure out if X, we can predict the rainfall. We can just look at those things that really, like this, John, like this affects your crops or whatever. I'm trying to go. I'm maybe exaggerating here, but you see what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to
Yeah.
match their accent and their attitude and their persona. I want to make them relate to me.
Yep.
Do you think that's gonna? For me, it seems like that would help, right? Do you
Yeah.
feel the
No,
same way?
absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's a common kind of joke around the office that everyone that works in sales has their farmer voice, that when they're talking on the
Good.
phone, they drop down a couple octaves and it's a little bit more like definitely, as far as like mirroring and like talking and kind of like matching the style and throwing out a lot of, "Oh, God bless you" type stuff. Like,
Yeah.
we
God
do that
bless
kind
you,
of stuff.
John. I'll talk to you on Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
And then drop the formality. They don't want to do. The last person they want to do business with is the Duke University, right? I was going to say Harvard, but I went to Duke, so I'm going to throw shit on myself. But the Duke University college grad who comes in with spreadsheets and it's like, "Oh yeah, John, I'm going to teach you to do business, right? So you're going to increase this oil production over here by 72%. They hate those people, right?
Mm-hmm.
They like their buddy who's going to grab a beer, be like, "Hey, John, hey, have you thought of maybe like, figuring out if your fertilizer's uneven?" Like, dude, man, just go on the ground, right, and grab some piece of dirt and be like, "This seems like slightly different color, my friend. Like, I'm no expert,
Mm-hmm.
but to me, this tells me that maybe your fertilizer is not equal," right? And they're like,
Right.
"Holy shit, how would I figure that out?" Maybe you can use farm logs. That's what I used, right? That's what they want to do. So, in short, here's what I want to, and we've been on the phone for a long time, which is cool. This will be a long recording. But what I want to summarize it to so far is we've been able to understand what's their psychographic profile, who do they want to do business with, what are they trying to do, and
Mm-hmm.
on the cold call on day one, you don't want to be like, you don't want to be the guy who tells them what they need to do and what they're doing wrong. People hate those, right? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
you're using, like when we're calling accountants, this is a lesson we learned through practice. Like at the beginning, they're like, "Oh yeah, how do you send your tax returns to your clients?" They're like, "Oh yeah, we convert them to PDFs, and like we print them, and then we ship them with FedEx, or like we just we have a fax machine, so we print them and then we'll fax them, right?" And then
Mm-hmm.
like we were analyzing the calls from all our reps, and some of the reps were like, no, man, you're spending so much money. That's like so dumb. Who uses faxes nowadays, right? Or, oh my God, you're spending so much money. You're wasting so much money. I can help you, right? And then some other people were like, man, that's what I hear a lot. Like a lot of people are doing that. That makes a lot of sense. I totally understand that. But like I just talked to another accountant, and he was doing that 2 months ago. And you know what he's doing now? He started using email. It's like, and I know what you're going to tell me because I talk to accountants all the time. You're like, the files are too big. They don't go through email. My email doesn't send those. It tells me that there's an error because the files are too big. And it's because the bookkeeping files are big. Man, that's what I'm calling you. This company that I work with is called ShareFile, and you can send up to 10 gigabytes via email. So it's like 100 times more than usual. And the files just go through, and the clients love it because if they call you on the weekend and they need their files, you can send it via email. You don't need to print it. You don't need to fax it. You don't need to ship it. They can get it instantly. They have questions. They send it back. You send it back to them. It's so easy. But hey, man, because you're using those password protected PDFs, because you're using fax machines, I think it's just I'm not saying you should buy it, but I'm saying you should check it out. You have 20 minutes to check it out next week, and the accountants love that. They didn't want a personalized presentation about the increased effectiveness of document sharing via cloud technology. What they wanted was they wanted to check out this email plugin that would help them quickly send and receive those tax returns. Like lightning fast. The nuts and bolts of our product is that you can actually lightning fast send those documents back and forth. Right? Are we up to something here? What are some things you think you can try next week or that you can change to see if you can get better results?
Yeah, so I definitely liked the kind of the way that you started the call with like saying, giving them a specific amount of like, this is how long it's going to take, is that okay? Also when you were saying like, this is what we've been able to do for X, Y, and Z, we were able to increase their production by 20%. Is that something that you'd like to talk about? Like, can we set some time to show you how we can help you do that? I think those are two things that I definitely am going to try out with like setting very clear expectations right from the get go. Like, hey, I'm not looking for a ton of time. Like 2 minutes. If you don't want to still talk after that, I'll fuck off or I'll get off.
Yeah.
And if and then also like the use case thing, really kind of sprinkling a couple more of those in there, because right now I guess the biggest carrot for like wanting to continue the conversation is us throwing out like, yeah, we've got a ton of people who are using us, 700 people within 25 miles of you using our program. Would love to talk about ways that we can connect you with those growers and maybe send some of those farmers to your business. Is that something that you'd want to talk about?
Right.
So that's what we're currently doing. So maybe, and then being able to say like, yeah, we were able, we've got these people in your area 25 miles away. And, with one of our other partners, we were able to send him 20 new customers in, his first 2 months of working with us. Are you looking to increase your business? Like kind of something more like that.
Right.
I think that could be, beneficial.
Yeah, and some of the things that I'm gonna recommend today is when you are, if I were you, I would write a script to follow and to start changing your habits, because everybody who's been calling for a while has some habits that they've formed, and it seems you guys are pivoting a lot. But I'll write it down to make sure that you're following a very similar script every time. And I would be conscious. You mentioned this that farmers or the people that you're working with, even the consultants, they're like, what do you know about my business that I don't know? There's no way you know. So I wouldn't say, we started working with John and we helped him increase production by 20%. One thing that I did very consciously in our call is to say, hey, I know John Johnson down the road from you. He's on blah, blah, blah. And since we started working together, he's been able to increase his crop production by 20%. That guy's just really smart. He looked at some of our technology and he understood very quickly that there was a way that for him to increase his production. He's done it. So if you want to see if you can increase it, you should just talk to him or I can show you and see if you think you can increase production. So one of the things that you want to do is, I'm not trying to, you got to do almost indirect sales to even your indirect sales partners, right? To your channel partner. You're going to be like, hey man, I know exactly how you can grow this. I know exactly how you can do it better. You're like, hey man, since I started working with them, that guy is genius. He was able to increase it. And from what I'm seeing on my map, it seems like you have a lot of crops and you seem like a pretty smart guy. So I'd be surprised if you can't figure it out and increase your production by 10% by looking at XYZ. And the way it usually happens, like this one farmer, he's great. He's genius. Here's what he did. He looked at our satellite imagery and like it was very clear on the images because we have like heat maps about the distribution of soil and coloring. And he looked at it. He was like, "Hey, does this look like there is uneven amount of fertilizer?" And I said, "Yeah, that looks like it." He's like, "Oh my god!" So he went to his machine and figured out that something was clogged and fixed it, and he increased his production by 20%.
Mm-hmm.
We just showed him a report, and the guy was able to do it. So if you're a smart farmer, which from what I hear, it seems like you are, I think that if you look at some of these reports, you can look at that and figure something out and increase your stuff much more. Let me just show it to you next week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're going to strike a little bit of their ego, and you're going to go with the mindset of like, I'm not trying to teach you anything. I just wanted to take a look at this and see if it's useful for you. And I think they're going to be much more likely to say yes. And then we're not only trying to, because you're not having a problem in the conversion of like, hey, let's talk to let me show you something. I would assume, even though we haven't talked about this, that your biggest problem is that you're unable to grab a person after you show them a demo for them to say like, oh my God, yes, let's work with Farmlogs. Is that a good assumption to make? Whoop, I lost you for a second. My computer froze. I don't know if you're still there.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying that definitely the showing them the demo is not the challenging part. And even most guys, after they see a demo, are like, yeah, I think it could be beneficial. It's just, that time commitment and getting people to actually use it. That's kind of more of like the choke point and the bottleneck of the process.
Right. And then, what's interesting is you're telling me, again, I didn't research the company. I try not to just so I don't know anything when you're cold calling me. But from what you're telling me, it seems like you guys are changing different things and so on. This is also great product feedback. I would go to my product team and say, the biggest challenge that we're hearing is that they're afraid of the farmers not spending the time to look at it. So how can we build our software so that it sends them SMS notifications, email notifications, it calls their wife. I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to have a way in the software where it reminds you that every Thursday at 6 p.m. after dark, you're back at home, and it'll say, beep, 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 beep. By the way, something's wrong with your field. And then it will pull up the report.
Mm-hmm.
And you're telling me it's so easy to use. So if it's easy to use, they just need a reminder, and they're going to see it, right? So when you're a small company, it's also really good to have the sales development team, and you might need to convince your manager or the CEO of the company, or I don't know how big the company is, but to cross. And then when you're talking to them, they're like, "Hey man, like, does this seem like something that would work for you?" And they're like, "I don't think that people are going to spend the time." You're like, "Oh yeah, let me show you our engagement data." You pull a report. So out of the 300 farmers that have been starting to sign up for Farmlogs, 298 have been using it. 294 have turned on the reminders on Thursdays, or the reminders for them to notify, and 73% of them log in within 7 minutes of the reminder.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're telling me they're not going to have time, I'm guaranteeing you that from what we're seeing, as soon as they get that reminder, they understand the value, because this is the way they're going to increase production. And then your prospect has nothing to say to that, and it should be convincing, and you should have the data so you can address those problems. There's a long road. I mean, it's not something you can come in on Monday and fix that, because you're way down the funnel. and you're an AE on top of an SDR, you're doing a lot of work, a lot of hard work, not as specialized as most of the people I talk to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, hopefully at least this helps you top of funnel. This helps you with the conversation. This helps you think about a little bit more about your targeting and your prospects.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Cool. I think we're gonna cut it here. Any other questions, comments for me that you think would be beneficial for the audience, or any last comments you want to give the audience about this training, or anything else you want to say? After that, we'll cut it. We can continue talking as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that I've always kind of, like I said, this is my first sales job, and it is a very unique as far as the market we're selling to, the people, the demographic we're selling to, and even what we're selling. So it was really good for me, I think, to kind of get that outside perspective from someone who works with a lot more traditional SDR to AE type people who are selling to more traditional people who understand technology and its value. So it was just kind of interesting to see from that outside perspective, but definitely think that kind of framing it and using the mirroring aspect and being able to just kind of set clear expectations on what I'm asking of them right at the beginning of the call definitely can have an impact on seeing the conversion of first calls to completed meetings.
Right. And I'll repeat the phrasing there because the phrasing is important, right? You don't want to say at the beginning of the call, "Hi, John, this is Mike. Is it a good time?" What you specifically want to say, and there's a few keywords here, is, again, I'm assuming you're talking to farmers who are kind of laid back. It's not a formal conversation. So you would say, "Hey, John," rather than "Hi. Hey, John, this is Mike," or "This is Kevin." Don't say your last name. You don't need to. It sounds too formal. "Hey, this is Kevin. I'm calling from Farmlogs, and I was hoping to speak with you for 2 minutes. I was hoping to speak with you for 2 minutes." When you say "I was hoping to do X," people tend to want to help you. If you say "I want to speak with you for 2 minutes," it's like, well, I don't care what you want. But if you say "I was hoping to speak with you for 2 minutes," they're more likely to say yes. Or what I actually say is, "I was hoping to speak with you briefly." So then I can say the 2 minutes. Do you have 2 minutes? Right? And then that just sets clear expectations. It positions yourself as somebody who's hoping to do something and needs a hand, needs a little bit of help from them, and then they're more likely to agree to that. We've seen a high conversion rate on that. Again, with Sharefall, we've made a ton of calls, and even though accountants are not necessarily farmers, there's a lot of similarities in the sense that they own their own work. They're entrepreneurs. They're responsible for acquiring and losing clients. They're responsible for doing a great job. They control their workflow. They use their own tools. They don't think that any other accountant knows much more than what they do, but they know that if some other accountant's getting really good results doing something, they should at least try it out. And right. I would assume that farmers are the same way. That's why I'm trying to use what we call social proof. I think in your market you need a low social proof, which is this person down the road, like literally in our CRM, we had and you might have something like this too, a zipline mapping. We would know, zip code mapping. We would know according to their zip code, what are other clients that are actually paying clients of ShareFile, right? So for you, if you know that they're like 10 miles away from John and Jackie farming, right? Or that there's 72 people who have used it, you can tell your guy like, "Hey, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like just mention 1 or 2, like, hey, we're working with John and John farming with XYZ farming. And I think XYZ, like, I think that if you look at it, I think if you check this out, you're going to see why they're working with us. I'm not saying you should, but I think you're at least going to understand why they're working with us and why this might have helped them increase their production. It might have been this, it might have been something else, but they increased their production 20% over the past year. Oh, why not check it out, man? It's going to be raining either way. It's raining tomorrow. Let's talk tomorrow. And then the other thing is proposing the meeting for right now, right? Hey, John, I promised I would be brief, so happy to speak tomorrow or next week. But, if it's sunny, I know you're going to be on the field. So if you have time later today, because it's raining, happy to talk today. If not, we can schedule it for next week.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. I think those are good takeaways for the audience. appreciate the time, man. I kept you here forever to build
No, I
this
appreciate
cool video.
Yeah, thanks for taking some time here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, audience, for checking this out. And yeah, expect the next recording as well. Have a good one. Bye, everybody.